Part 52 of Don't Say Schwarzenegger. In this part, I'm going to be covering intimidation, hacking, surveillance, harassment, all of which began immediately after my 2015 attempted unaliving by a group of wealthy, powerful men. So one thing the defendants did was they forced all their victims, us, to undergo 2 psychiatric evaluations with a doctor of their choice, a psychologist. And you have to answer truthfully, where do you live? What do you drive? What's your daily schedule like? What things make you feel safe? What things make you feel fearful? And then those answers go to the defendants. And when the doctor asked me, what things make you feel safe? I said, well, I'm renting a room from a house on a really small street. There's only 8 homes on the street, and there's a gate. So cars have to, you can't just pull up and just sit there. People just can't. So it made me feel very safe living there. Coincidentally, after these psychiatric evaluations, the things I said made me feel safe started to be dismantled by someone. So here's a photo I took of the gate, and as you can see, half of it is open, and it's steel arms. It's a pretty serious gate. Almost immediately after these psychiatric evaluations, an anonymous person petitioned the city to have the gate removed. And I asked the neighbors who had been living there for 10, 20, 25 years, and I said, has this ever happened before? And they said, no, this is crazy. And the city wants to keep the gate because before the gate was installed 25, 30 years ago, there was issues with like high school kids, college kids or whatever, sneaking up to our street. And it's got a really pretty view of the city. So people would come up there at night and, they would be smoking, they would be drinking, but they would be leaving bottles and stuff and littering and everything, and there was worry that somebody would start a fire. So the city was 100% okay with having this gate because it stopped that. Thankfully, when the neighbors found out that this anonymous petition was happening, they actually, within 48 hours, they got 200 neighbors in the area to sign it saying, we need the gate. We don't want any fires in the summer and litter and stuff like that. So thankfully that was kept. But about 3-4 times in the middle of the night over a 2 or 3 week period, as you can see below me, that little gray thing on the ground, that was taken off the top of that, and it pretty much, somebody kept coming and removing, dismantling the steel arms of the gate and making sure it was broken. So that's one piece. This is just a text exchange between me and a neighbor. I'm in the blue. We had to have a professional come out and try to fix the gate because on top of someone dismantling the arms of the gate, somebody also figured out a way to disconnect the intercom from the gate to the houses, so making it unusable again. So you can pause it if you want to see it, but so I actually happened to be pulling into the street when the professional from the company and the company van was pulling out. I pulled him over and I was like, did you fix it and what was wrong with it? He told me that it was really, really strange. He goes, well, the way that you disconnect the intercom, he's like, see that giant telephone pole above you, the crazy one, and there's not even little spigots on the side to climb up. If it's a random person wanted to climb it, you couldn't. You would have to come with gear to get to the very top of this. And he's like, somebody brought gear, a professional, climbed all the way to the top and cut the wire. So the next scary thing that happened was the car chase. I was leaving the west side in LA, and I was driving home to the east side where I was living. And I was driving down Sunset Boulevard going east, and it was middle of the day and not that much traffic. And I noticed about 5 minutes, 10 minutes into my drive that there was a black SUV following me. I'm aware of all my surroundings, everywhere I go, especially when I drive. And I noticed even when there wasn't any traffic around whatsoever, that he would not pass me. It was 2 lanes going each way. He wouldn't pass me, and he, at one point, when we got into the Beverly Hills area, where there's this stretch of just a straightaway, and the second there was no cars around, which was for about a minute or so, he pulled up behind me and almost rammed me. And it was a dirty black SUV and tinted windows. I couldn't see into it. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman or 2 people. So I sped up to try to let him pass me. I'm like, just go around me. What is he doing? He got up within an inch of my bumper, and I was terrified. And the speed limit over there is about 35 miles an hour. And I started driving faster and faster to get away from him. I went up to 55 at this point, 20 miles over, and he still won't pass me, but coming up like this, closer, closer, almost ramming me, then backing up, closer, closer. I start freaking out. And I know that in this stretch of street, a lot of the time there's motorcycle cops that are hiding off to the side that will wait for people that are speeding and then ticket them. So I went, okay, I'm gonna take this up to like 70 miles an hour, double the speed limit, and I'm gonna get a cop to pull out and catch this guy and pull us over. So I'm going 70 miles an hour. I'm flying, I'm terrified, I'm shaking. And all of a sudden a red light is coming up and there's a couple of cars parked at the red light. It's a four-way intersection. And as I go up, I'm driving full speed. He is on me. And I look both ways and everything, and I can see that there's cars that are about to cross, but I was going fast enough where I went, I can't sit behind a red light with this guy. He might get out of his car. So I went around the cars. I looked, made sure I was going fast enough to blow the red light and like Tokyo drift into the side street to get away from him. And when I did that, I cut the cars off. I didn't cause an accident or anything, but I cut the cars off and I just took off into this neighborhood and I lost him and I had to pull over for like 20 minutes and just cry and shake and wait till it was safe enough to drive again. And coincidentally, I got a red light camera. Like they have cameras in Beverly Hills that'll snap a picture if you run the red light and then just send you the ticket. And there's me, just like, you can see me there, and you can also see the red car where I'm like spinning around the corner and cutting off that white SUV. So I got a ticket from it, but you know, I was hoping that the camera would get a picture of the SUV behind me, but he did slow down like maybe 100 yards before the red light. He slowed down. Smart of him. Okay, for this next part, if you have a fear of spiders, trigger warning, you're gonna wanna skip the next few minutes because I'm gonna show some video and photos. So I did this post on social media years ago, and I wrote, you know, I will feed you and ply you with drinks if you come to my place right now and clean up the giant squashed spider that's underneath the cookbook I hurled at it this morning. I'm not kidding. And I wasn't. Like, I'm so afraid of spiders that not only, like, there was a dead spider underneath the book, and I was still too scared to even move the book and clean it, and I was like, somebody please come do this for me. And it was like kind of funny, but I was serious. And after what happened next, I stopped posting anything about my fears and safeties publicly. So over the next 3 weeks, yes, that's a tarantula. That's a huge tarantula that a neighbor posted on the neighborhood group chat that was on the outside of their sliding glass door. Over a 3-4 week period, there was about 12 to 14 tarantula sightings within a 2-house radius of where I lived. 3 of those were actually either inside our house or right outside my door. So here's a video I'm gonna show you. Ready? This is my security camera catching a tarantula about 3 feet outside my front door. Yeah. So a lot of the neighbors on the neighborhood group chat kept posting info and photos of this sudden barrage of tarantulas that were in our neighborhood. And again, people had been living there for 20 plus years, and nobody has ever seen over a dozen tarantulas suddenly just in a 3 to 6 block radius, 3 to 6 house radius, like a very, very confined area where just suddenly, like, it's not normal, nor was it normal that time of year in California to have them. Because we do have tarantulas if you go up into the hills and the Santa Monica Mountains. Like, I've lived here 25 years and I've seen one when I was on a hike like 15 years ago. But 12 right around my house, 3 inside, 2 inside the house, and then 1 at my front door after the psychiatric evaluation. So I learned from this experience that I needed to not talk about my fears publicly anymore. I needed to not talk about my friends who I loved the most, the things that made me feel safe. And I learned through that I need to keep everything inside to protect myself because it'll be used against me. I still have a lot more to cover in this about the intimidation, harassment, surveillance, and I'll continue that in the next part. Thanks, guys.